Thank you for joining us. This is The Green Room. I'm Caitlin Matson, and joining me in the green room is Maestro Yaniv Segal, the conductor of the Salina Symphony. And it's hard to believe we're approaching October, and this Sunday, October the 1st, the Salina Symphony kicks off their season. Hello, Yaniv. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. It's great to see you again.
You
And
have
yeah, we're starting Sunday, but it's a roaring start. Let me say that.
we're roaring into October with the Roaring 20s. That is the theme for your very first concert, an exciting mix of the traditional and the new.
Yep.
Explain to us what's in store.
Okay, so we have a new piece that was written just a few years ago that was commissioned for a piece to celebrate the women's suffrage of 1920. And so this composer who lives in Michigan, her name is Audrey Kelly. She wrote this great I don't know, kind of hybrid of jazz and classical piece that is just four scenes of the 20s, highlighting the jazz, highlighting Charleston, highlighting the life of Zelda Fitzgerald, kind of a tribute to the wackiness of the 20s. And so that's how we start, really, with a roar. And then we go from that into something that's really quite different. Even though it's written in 1924, we play Sibelius' Seventh Symphony, which was the last symphony he completed before he really descended into his own personal darkness of alcoholism and anxiety and could never write more music. And this symphony is not frequently performed, but it's amazing. It's in one movement. It's a little over 20 minutes. And it's inspired by nature and the idea of organic music coming from within itself. So that's, the first half. We have the roaring and the kind of serene. And that in a way, that is the dichotomy of the 20s, as we have all sides represented. And on the second half of the concert, we have Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue, which is also from 1924. In a new arrangement for symphony orchestra. It's one of these works that has lived in our symphonic repertoire in a standard version by this composer and arranger that worked with Gershwin, whose name was Ferde Grofe. And this work has recently come into the public domain, and so many composers now are retackling it to see if there could be different versions of it. So we're doing a version by Tim Behrens, and it pays more tribute, I think, to the original version, which Gershwin only wrote. He wrote a two-piano version, and then there was a version for jazz band. And there's a lightness and a spirit to it that is captured in this version, which I really, really like. And our pianist is just a out of this world type of pianist. His name is Nachito Herrera, and he is from Cuba, and he grew up playing classical music and then changed or transitioned to becoming one of the world leaders of Afro-Cuban jazz. And he had his own band and toured with, Buena Vista Social Club, which is perhaps one of the most famous bands that have come out of Cuba with traditional Cuban, Afro-Cuban jazz. So he's playing the Rhapsody in Blue, which is just going to be a perfect piece for him to highlight both his ability as an improviser and as a classical musician. And then we have a bunch of, let's say, to be announced from the stage hits that he wrote that combine classical music with jazz.
It's a wonderful reminder of all the different genres and styles that can exist at the same time.
Absolutely.
You think about a composer like Jean Sibelius, my mind immediately categorizes him as a strictly classical composer. You are Romantic era into the 20th century classical composer. And then my mind kind of gets blown up a bit when we talk about how this piece was written within months of Rhapsody in Blue.
Right. And that's so that was one of Sibelius's struggles, was that he felt like the music in the composition world was advancing beyond where he felt like he wanted to write. He didn't know how his music fit into the world of the 20s, post-World War I. In classical music, we're looking at post-tonality with Schoenberg and the 12-tone composers starting to dominate the field in a way. And so he really felt that there was still something to be said from the standard symphonic form. And so in his own way, that's what he was doing with his music. And I think we're lucky now, living 100 years later, where you have somebody like Audrey writing, and she doesn't feel the pressure to write in a certain style. And composers today get to write what they feel like want to write without that pressure of it must be Beethoven, it must be this, it must be that. And I really respect that in her music, which is you get her composer's voice.
Her very own distinct style, whatever that is.
Exactly.
When was the speakeasy for vignettes of the Roaring Twenties written? It just in the past few years?
Yeah, it was commissioned, I think, for 2020, and needless to say, those performances got postponed. So I think its premiere was in 2020, in the 2021-22 season in Jackson, Michigan. And I was actually at that premiere performance, which is where I heard it. And I was like, I really want to do this piece. There's another fun fact for us in Salina, is that we opened last year's season with a piece by Patrick Harlan called Earthrise, and Audrey is married to Patrick. So we have
I love that. Yes.
composer, husband, wife team.
You're just supporting that whole family.
Yeah.
I love it. And you know what's great is that the organization Salina Symphony is, the sort of environment where you can come and say, you know what, I heard this a couple years ago. I'm dying to do it. I think we could do it really well. Let's make something really wild happen on this concert. And everybody on the board and in the administrative offices says, yep, sign us up.
Well, I am going to echo that and say I'm super grateful to be here in this community that really values the arts and is open and receptive to what we're doing. And the fact is that the music on stage that we perform, whether it's old or new, has connections to our life and is relevant to what we're doing today. So if I can bring out those connections in whatever we're performing, I'm really, really appreciative of the audience who's up for it.
We have an example of one of Nachito Herrera's pieces that's kind of this excellent fusion of classical music and his Afro-Peruvian heritage, Afro-Cuban, Afro-Cuban heritage. Its title is Chopiniano, which a play on Chopin.
Yeah, so he takes the prelude in E minor, a very famous prelude, and he reworks it for a hybrid orchestra / Latin jazz band.
All right, we'll listen to that and we'll be back to talk more with Maestro Yaniv Segal from the Salina Symphony. And that, the music and the talents of pianist composer Nachito Herrera, the guest artist with the Salina Symphony Orchestra on their opening concert of the season, which is this Sunday, October the 1st. It is at 4:00 in the Stiefel Theater. For information, for tickets, you can go to their website, salinasymphony.org, for any information about this particular concert or their season as a whole. And in the green room with me this afternoon is Yaniv Segal, the maestro of the symphony, talking to us about this wonderful mashup, this Roaring Twenties afternoon, which stars Nachito Herrera, this incredible talent, Emmy Award-winning Cuban jazz pianist who loves these mashups of classical and jazz, like we just heard.
Yeah, and I'll also throw it out there that if you want to come early at 3:00, Audrey, who's our featured composer as well of the concert, Audrey Kelly, will be there with me in the green room to do a pre-concert chat about her piece as well as music in general. So feel free to come early and meet Audrey because she's really lovely.
That is fantastic. An opportunity to hear from the composer of the very first piece on the concert, this speakeasy, 4 vignettes of the Roaring Twenties, composer Audrey Kelly joining Yaniv Segal in the concert talk beforehand. Your entire season looks incredible. Do you want to give us a little?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So we like to kind of think of the season as a whole. And so the season title is called Music Speaks. And so we're really exploring lots of different types of music. And the question really is, how does music speak to you? Because what I really love about performance and live performance in a space together with lots of people is that we all get to have different takes, different things move us, different things make us think of things. But I want to encourage people to be active listeners and to let themselves listen and hear what's happening for them. And that deepens the experience. And in a time when, so much of our lives are short chunks of things and little TikTok videos and whatnot, going to a concert hall and sitting down and just, I don't know, listening and meditating for a movement, which is a couple minutes long, to a symphony, which might be 20 minutes long, like that is a type of attention that we're in danger of losing. So I really want to encourage people to think about how the music is affecting them and where it takes them. So we have music this season that is, crossover, shall I say, with things that are more rhythmically active, or taking things from jazz music. We have things that are purely classical. We have tango at the end. We've got Brahms. We have a little bit of everything this season. And that's just to really encourage people to come, take that time to sit there, listen, and allow yourselves to be transformed.
And the Stiefel Theater being just a picture perfect venue
It's
for the
awesome.
symphony.
It is.
It's just sweet. So
it's
wonderful.
It's amazing because, as a former vaudeville stage, a theater that was created before digital amplification was possible means that the acoustic has to be good, and the throw from the stage to the back of the house is really close. So you feel like you're there. It's a great place.
I came to the symphony. It was one of your final concerts of last season. I sat the mezzanine level up in the balcony, essentially. And it felt so intimate still. And what my ears were hearing, it felt like I was just sitting in the middle of that orchestra. It's a beautiful venue, a beautiful theater, and anybody who can get there to see the symphony, you won't regret it.
No, we invite you to come, and come often.
All right, October the 1st. That's this Sunday, if you can believe it. 4:00 in the Stiefel Theater. Salina Symphony kicks off their new season. Maestro Yaniv Segal, thank you so much for joining me today. Congratulations on the continued success. The Salina Symphony, just so well loved, not only in this community of Salina, but throughout Central Kansas.
Thanks, Caitlin. See you next time.
Yeah.